Hey guys, welcome to the video. Before we get started on the talk, which I have after this, I want to touch base with a couple quick things. So this video, it's coming to my attention that I've started to offer some typing. I've had some great sessions with a couple of you so far. And in the discovery of your guys' type, and as we talk about your type in your development, it occurred to me that I need to start moving towards some more development content about how types develop, how the functions develop, why certain types, why people of the same type look different. So this video is kind of a primer, a foundational piece for that. It's kind of simple, it's kind of straightforward. It's just how our functions develop based on our environment, and that there are a couple of paths to our development. So we're going to start here. We're going to start with this conversation of how our types develop, because this is the next iteration. This is starting to get more into the advanced stuff of, again, how to identify people of the same type who look vastly different potentially, okay? And then for ourselves, I think more importantly here, starting to map out how our lives have brought us to the development of a specific function, the absence of the other function, and what that means. So hope you guys enjoy. This is just kind of the start of the conversation of this next layer. What's going on, guys? John Bodine here with Redemptive Psych. Welcome to the video. And today we're going to do a hopefully short video kind of discussing a very abstract principle here of how our types develop, how they change. And through this, you're going to be able to extrapolate a lot of things as a foundational principle to start to understand why, for example, if you get 5-10 people of the same type, why several of them, or at least a few of them, will look so different, will look like other types. Fundamentally, I still believe our type is our type, just as our DNA is our DNA, just as the building blocks of a house remain, even though the interior walls are changed, or we can paint the outside. What is there at the bottom is there at the bottom. Now, we're gonna talk about how life, whatever circumstances we're in, change the expression of our functions. Okay, so I have two pyramid two pyramid models here, not pyramid schemes, I hope. And we have the functions arranged. Now, right now they're arranged in the preference of an INFJ. We have the hero here, the demon, the nemesis or the opposing, and the inferior. Likewise, so these are all the perception functions. These are all the judgment functions arranged with FE, and then FITI, and then TE being the most opposed to it, okay? Now, the way this works is that each of these opposites, particularly top and bottom, are pushing on each other. It's like this powerful magnetic field. It's the unstoppable force and the immovable object. That is the demon and the hero. That still exists here with the parent and the trickster, though the energy is a little less directly combative here. Now, let's take an INFJ who was born and raised, and here in this intersection here, the hero and the demon push on each other, okay? What is going to resolve this tension is our environment, is perhaps some of our genetics. We don't know that for sure. At least our environment. Where R and I, they need their hero, we all need our hero. R and I is either going to go more in the direction of NE as a secondary development, or more in the direction of SE as a secondary development. In other words, our hero is going to be more shaped, depending on our environment, by our nemesis function or our inferior function, okay? So as an example, an INFJ or an INTJ who develops into their NE, into their lower stack function over their SE, probably means that their environment has less freedom for them, has more obligation for them, that their ability and their performance was not as rewarded as their flexibility, as their adaptability, as their dutifulness, okay? An INFJ who's more developed into SE is likely more rewarded for doing things well, for performing, for pursuing what they want to and doing well with that. Whereas the ones developed this way are more maybe doing more chores, maybe in a more difficult environment, a more boring environment, an environment that required them to be more adaptable and less affirmed. Now, the theme here that's common is that we don't go directly for the opposite function, okay? The way we develop our demon, for example, is through the nemesis and the inferior, okay? The hero pulls the information up from the demon through these two side functions here, through this. It doesn't go straight across because this tension is never resolved. The only thing that can happen with this tension is for it to flip, meaning that even though our inferior is perhaps more conscious than the nemesis, that can change, okay? If our environment prefers this function, prefers our nemesis, then our nemesis will likely become more conscious than our inferior, and our inferior will become more necessary to develop it consciously rather than passively. Okay, the same relationship comes down here between the parent, critic, child, and trickster. And you know, if you are a judgment hero, you can view this as your hero and your demon. You can move these functions around. They track in a pattern. If you're any hero, then it'll be NI and SI here, and then and SE will be most opposite. So just rotate it around until it matches your functions. The pattern is the same. Okay, for FE, parent, more ethical and more socially oriented, more interested in harmony perhaps, more interested in following the rules of the group, not violating social norms, right? Not violating the affiliative. There are two different ways that FE parent can be shaped directly. Either FI critic, okay, where the INFJ is in an environment where their thoughts, where their problem-solving ability is not as rewarded. Maybe they're in an environment with other TI users and the space for a voice that is listened to is in high competition. So they have to become better listeners, provide more feedback because they can't use their child as openly or as frequently. Or they're in an environment perhaps with some TE users or with parents or siblings or whatever who want to know what they think, who rely on their ability to solve problems. Okay, they'll be less concerned about providing feedback, probably not as good listening, probably not as good as a listener potentially, okay? FE stays the same, FE parent, but it'll take on the secondary shape. Is it more FI critic developed with a little more wisdom, a little more carefulness, a little more depth, or with TI child, a little more certainty, a little more this is right and that's wrong and that's obvious, or a little more nuance? Are they quicker to judge people in a moral sense, in a meeting my standard sense? Or are they more just out with their thoughts and are not really thinking as much about how what they think affects others? Because they might think, I know the answer to help you, or the FI developed version is less sure that they know what that person needs. They may be more concerned about getting rid of what they don't need, a little more passive, a little more filling in the negative space, whereas the TI FE version is more filling in the positive space. Okay, developing the bottom function here, in the case of the trickster, it's the same as here. The parent and the trickster, FE and TE, don't cross into each other, okay? This is the immovable object and the unstoppable force. They are stuck in this tension. And the only thing that can happen is flipping. They will never be merged into each other except for implosion. Okay, so here again, we will be the TE trickster can be developed over time through FI or through TI. Okay, so TE trickster can be developed through reading and considering and thinking through things. And it can be developed through developing standards and priorities and a sense of well-being, a sense of worth about things. More critical of the value of something, more able to gather research and think about it and develop their own thinking. Now, both ways are valid. One way will be more natural to you, and the other way will have to be more consciously sought after. Okay, so this is just the baseline of the theory. I'm going to stop there. If you guys want to apply this to your own type, like I said, just take this and rotate the functions, okay? The extroverted perception functions are always opposed. The introverted perception functions are always opposed. Likewise with the judgment functions, okay? So I'm going to stop there. That's the basic kind of groundwork for this idea. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hope this is something you're wanting to consider. If you take this idea and go further with it, you can get to a lot of interesting places. So thanks for stopping by, guys, and I'll see you next time.